there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this video, which will be a short representation of what is coming up next in my work of service. As you know, I've been sharing with you before that my devotional service is going to shift and is shifting more and more towards the group consciousness. So as we begin to ascend and actually transcend our own individuality, we begin to merge with the greater levels of the self, which are more oriented towards the group soul consciousness. Please watch my video about moving into group consciousness for a more primary explanation of this. But today I also wish to read you something from the Soul Integration book from Salva Kelly. This book came into my hands once again because usually it means that it's time, or something comes as you know, the buildup of that attention, which is important in that moment. So what does this mean? You know, in our reality, as we know it, we know that all of us exist on different levels of awareness, and that everything in truth is very subjective to what we experience on our own level of the density that we are experiencing ourselves through, as in the awareness that penetrates through our being. So it relates to the aspect of ourselves that we are more intuitively aligning with. So I'm going to read you from this book to kind of give you this short presentation of what it means that when you start to merge with greater levels of the self, you will feel like it's not just you here on this planet, and those of us who come here as volunteer souls, we already are living a life that is devoted to a greater whole. As you know, most humans, they're still functioning in the reality as into moving through their own challenges, learning to choose, learning to create their own realities. This is the first basic earth template. But as the soul begins to ascend, the soul begins to start to be exposed to other realities that are available. And we're moving through different layerings of the templates that are at our disposal. So what this means is that we begin to feel ourselves as a greater part of the whole. And a few years back, when I began my awakening, I kept asking my higher self, what does this mean? This constant longing for this greater group. I have a feeling like this level of humanness feels so separate at times. And they said, when I say they, I mean the higher self, they said, well, it's because where you come from, it's all a group complex already. And I thought, wow, it does feel like this. And when this is so, usually the souls come from those levels to serve and remind other souls for moving upwards to that level, to integrate that, to remember once again where they come from, to return to that parent part of the soul, and to kind of merge with the greater conglomerate. So for a lot of you in your ascension, you might feel that, and you might feel this tendency to not just, you know, be living a life that is so individualized, and you don't feel like you're living for your own research, for your own soul expansion and development, but you feel this progression towards greater service. You feel like once this threshold is made, you will be almost like becoming an offering so that the light of spirit can work through you. And like I've shared before so many times, sometimes we call these the volunteer or the returning souls, but even the volunteer soul term in itself is not, it's very general, it's very broad. It doesn't mean necessarily which part and which density the soul is coming from. So let's say how Spirit showed me there's a lot of star-seeded souls that come from many different realms, and the luminaries, those who come here as illuminated ones, they're actually almost like a parent soul type to those individualized aspects. So on the 7th density level, we are individualized souls, and even when we move into other levels, we still remain that sovereignty. That part of ourself always remains, because we always have all of these different parts in our basic soul division within us. It's almost like the layers within the onion, and as we grow and expand, we activate more and more of that. And as we come to a certain level, we also can merge out, we can expand out into creation and create our own extensions. And for that reason, and particularly, I wish to now, and this is what I'm being guided towards next, create a mastery course that is an advanced level course. As you know, I have mastery courses from level 1 to 7, which do kind of correspond to the 7 sacred initiations, the 7 templates of our being, and the lower realities, the lower densities of creation, and merging with the 7th density aspect of yourself, which is your sovereign, unique 7th density soul, merging with your twin soul aspect. And from there on, it's all about the group. It's the oversoul, the head oversoul, or the monad, the monadic presence. And there you have the Christed and Buddhic self, moving from your own individualized God self, and then universal God self, and the oneness of all. And I wish to really present this. And this is not for everybody, because as Spirit shows me, and as you can see yourself, there's not so many people who can exist on the level of embodying the oversoul aspect, can be aligned with that aspect, not less embodying it, and that they can actually function as this wholesome conglomerate of this essence. It's all an essence. It's just that the awareness is so much broader on this level. And so I wish to create this mastery course, which will be for those advanced students of Ascension, those advanced devotees who want to move more and, you know, work on a group level. To work on a group level does not mean now you physically have to be in a group. It's just that the way you serve, the way you offer your service to the world, is also including many of the broad aspects that you would never consider when you're just living your own reality. You know, how it is to, you know, now I'm going to manifest something physical. Let's say I want a car. Oh, I'm learning how to manifest a car. When you come to the level of this greater whole self merge and completion, you won't be focused on things as such. Your focus, your primary focus, will begin to serve other brothers and sisters in divine remembrance, returning back to their own parent soul and moving further on beyond, which is a path that is divinely timed. It's not like we have a linear influence on it, so to say. So for those of you who really feel guided and who want to merge with this greater group aspect of the self and to understand better what this is, the advanced level mastery course will be kind of like the furthering of that which was achieved through the first 7 stages, the first primary initiations. If you haven't completed the first 7, I really advise you not to take this course because they really are subsequently lining up. So if you feel guided to be moving more deeply into this part of the Ascension, I also really encourage you to take it slowly, because we're in no rush, there's no hurry. So take the first 7 and first, if you really feel this is your path, it needs to be felt, you know. You can also, you know, you can go through it the many ways you want to, but there's a benefit to being guided by the souls who already ascended. So those of us who have this knowledge, who know how this works, what are these primary aspects, and Sal's material is always highly recommended by me. This is, you know, when you read it, you know there's knowledge in it, there is understanding within this, so I fully support this material. And for you to have a better understanding what this means to now have a greater will offering to the service of the whole, I wish to read you this excerpt from about greater will that is not being taken from you as you merge with greater levels, but it's almost like merging together, you know, greater aspects coming together to create something, like in the ancient days when an actual little physical group came together and they started to work for the benefit of the whole to create something. It's also when we say our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters are assisting us and they're assisting certain agendas not to fall through and all these things, they're also doing this as a group collective. But there's a difference between a group of souls, you know, different souls within a certain grouping, and a soul complex. And he describes this in his material too. This is all in his chapter on relationships. And you know, we're moving into this relationship time, and it's something that a lot of us are being guided towards. And I also referenced to you before that I won't be doing so much individualized service work, but I'm going to be working more in group terms. So putting things out in terms of workshops, I don't know, webinars, things like that. This is what I already do through YouTube classes, the courses that are for those of you who feel more initiated towards that and who really want to expand as a greater devotee of Ascension and you want to move your consciousness up those levels. So let's start with this by having a broad understanding, because the first time I read this was like, but it's always the way I described it. So naturally I resonated and I really wanted to share this with all of you. Again, this is from Soul Integration by Sal Kelly. And it talks about group soul complexes in the chapter 2. And soulmates and twin flames, but it does describe the whole division of the soul's dynamics. Individuality, as you know, it occurs throughout the first 7 levels of creation. In fact, your true essence is your individual 7th-density soul. This is your spark of divinity that is there when you strip away all the levels and dimensions of outer reality. Beyond level 7, a very different progression of evolution takes place, one that is difficult to describe in earthly language, and this is really true. This is the primary reason there are so few teachers exploring this topic and writing about it. That's true as well. The main reason for the confusion is thus: your linear minds are used to thinking of reality in 3 levels, and this is when it talks about the greater will. So these are going to call conformity, individuality, and unity. In the third density, humans, the dominant reality is one in conformity. You conform to certain belief systems, prejudices, and lifestyles. When someone differs from the norm, they are considered weird, eccentric, or even crazy. The advantage of conformity is that large numbers of people are easy to control and direct, which is sometimes beneficial, but usually not. The next level is individuality, which has come to mean doing whatever you please whenever you please, and this also sometimes is in a shallow way described in certain teachings for manifestation. You know, when you move into the group soul complex, the manifestation is not just for you, you know. Let's say in the utilization of the essence that was being utilized through the pyramids that were structured on this planet, the great group soul complex was involved, and it was not a concern of just one being. This is one of those examples. So if this, you know, that we perceive as doing whatever we please, in fact, this has also been the unenlightened definition of free will. So people think, okay, I have free will means I can do whatever I want. To utilize the free will aspect of the self means to become a sovereign being. And most beings who think they're free and living their free will are even not living their free will, because they're so much influenced by the belief systems, including the New Age beliefs, and they're not really free, and they're not utilizing their sovereign individual self, that is the seventh density, our own angelic self. So this is something we first need to really master before we can move in deeper group levels. So people tend to stay stuck in the level of individuality because they're afraid that if they move into unity, the next level up, they will lose their sense of freedom and variety. They view unity as sameness rather than a greater freedom. In essence, they're confusing unity with conformity. This is related to the idea of surrendering your individual free will to God's will. And even in dogmatic teachings, often it's presented as something forceful or fearful, and that you almost dissolve, and your sovereignty, your individual self dissolves, and you're just like absorbed into this nothingness, the great void of God. So, first of all, the word surrender conjures up images of waving white flags and having an enemy take you over and force you to do what it wants. Even if you get over that inaccurate idea of what it is meant here, you will still likely have programming from your lifetimes as a conformist. Giving up your individuality will bring up the fear that you are regressing back to your time of conformity. The idea of becoming one with God has a similar image associated with it. Here it appears you're being asked to merge your highly creative individual self into an amorphous mass of sameness called God. While there may be unified souls who are doing the same thing in the same way, they're anything but conformists. They have simply chosen to work together to achieve goals and visions that are difficult to achieve individually. Unity is the level right below group soul complexes. Within unity, there is diversity and individuality. Within a group soul complex, there is unity, diversity, and individuality. Each member of the group is a free will sovereign entity, but it's their free will is merged also within the group. So it's for the greater good of all, and it serves the great one unity consciousness. However, such a group has chosen to put minds and hearts together in a synergistic way that transcends the unity experienced on Earth. It is as though the group has one mind and one heart, even though each member has full autonomy and free will. Think of the closest knit family you can possibly imagine, and then think of something 100 times as close knit, and you will get an idea of what a group soul complex is like. To be a part of a group soul complex, you must be able to telepath and intuit the needs of the group in a way that goes far deeper than simply anticipating the needs of others or even having compassion for others, because love and compassion are automatically part of soul group complexes, so they're likely just the basic building blocks. As you grow and evolve and return to your true essence in seventh density, which is the Ascension, as we know it, you will begin to experience the beauty and majesty of group soul complexes. You already have one group firmly established, and that is your soul family. Sometimes, when deep in meditation, you may be able to tap into them and feel a profound sense of family, of oneness with each of the members. So take a moment right now to simply become aware of your soul family in the higher realms. Notice that they are monitoring you and loving you from a place deeper than your heart and vaster than your mind. Know that you have never actually left your soul family. You're merely having an experience of duality on Earth while still safely tucked within their wings. So As you evolve into 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th densities, group soul complexes will become a way of life. And you will realize on a much deeper level than you do now what oneness is all about. So in many references to oneness, what it's supposed to mean is just this very on the surface topic that we're just barely beginning to touch upon. But there needs to be, for a devotee of Ascension, a greater understanding of these levels, which are just soul steps of certain progressions and evolutions and varieties of creation as to from which point and which angle source is experiencing itself. So when a soul, which is maybe ascending for the first time, is beginning to rise up through the spiral of ascension movement, it begins to activate those levels of the self. The activation brings the necessity for integration, which is already a subsequent thing. And therefore, when we physically experience, we need to embody it. Anything that we want a physical experience of, we need to tune in from inside out and then merge the inner and the outer as one. And this is, what embodiment is all about. So when we master those levels, okay, I am my own inner creator on this level. But the levels never end because the soul constantly expands. It doesn't mean everybody expands this way in one lifetime or in the same way, because the journeys are so diverse. But for those who are feeling it, then this will be naturally felt as this pulling in. And I'm going to tell you, for me personally, what I feel since this 7th attunement of the mastery courses was complete also for me. It felt like this great love and this remembrance of the angelic self, just being it, just being with this total surrender. There's no more control. It just feels life is just unraveling. It's just unraveling, but at the same time you're not passive, you're also contributing. But you feel like the decisions you're making, they have to be weighted out through wisdom. So there needs to be wisdom, and this happens through the soul integration. With a level of wisdom, when you think about choices, of course you're always infinite, you have so many, but you will be making them on this level rather from the more expanded parts of you, which will show you the way that is also the way of the group, not just you. Let's say you have a relationship and you're saying, I'm not liking this about this relationship. I don't really like it. You don't have to like something in order for that to be of the necessity for the greater group collective. This is what Spirit shared with me today in meditation. And on this level, it's not about in particular what you would like. I would say, I don't want to go to the mountains, instead I want to go to, I don't know, to the seaside or to Hawaii or whatever. But you will be within the group always guided to be where you need to be, even if there's a part of you maybe wants it differently. So this is what I mean by that. And to be a master of choice, it's not I can choose anything. I'm a free being. But the level of my choices on this level of the group soul complex will begin to be more within the group, what the group needs, what I'm serving within the group for the group that is on these lower density levels that needs my assistance. Well, this is the easiest way how I can explain it. So for me personally, when I'm on this path of the service to the ascending souls, as an ascended soul, it feels like a lot of my own perceptions sometimes, which come as being a human, they're normal, they're natural. So you can have so much awareness, but still you will have these feelings and you'll have impressions of the world and you'll be moving through. And yet you will always feel like this call to the greater group to be of that service, and the group that is there in the lower densities that is climbing upwards and ascending. So this is what it's meant here by this greater will. It's not something scary. It's not that you all of a sudden you stop feeling yourself, because in truth you will start to feel yourself more than ever. It will just be on bigger, more expanded levels, and you'll have much more to contribute to creation, because on every level that you evolve to next, you can do more. You're capable of bringing more in your body, through yourself, much greater generation of energy even. So it's just how it is. I hope this made some sense. Stay tuned for when I'm gonna publish and announce the course. Probably already be this month, hopefully, but it will be posted on Instagram and on my Facebook page, and of course on my page. Serapina Light is the place to be. This will be among other courses, so if you feel called, stay connected. I'll talk to you soon. I really advise this book. It's really great for the integration of that primary knowing that a lot of you are now being pulled to and called to. So as always, so much love, wisdom, and power. Take care. Beautiful blessings from the sacred woods, and I'll talk to you soon. So much love. Bye-bye.